Unbelievable scenes at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., the funeral of Jimmy Carter, and Barack Obama, of all people, kind of threw Kamala under the bus, yucking it up with Donald Trump. You're going to have to see this to believe it. Plus, the ongoing disaster out in Los Angeles with these fires. But let's just be clear. Everyone's saying, oh, it's a natural disaster. No, it's a man-made disaster. Not because it's due to arson. We don't know that. No. Because of the politicians. Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, absolutely stone-faced when confronted with the truth. You need to see that video. Adam Carolla talks about what he thinks is going to happen with all those liberal Democrats who are now facing the reality of their party's policies, and who properly, correctly, accurately, perfectly predicted this disaster in California. You know who. We're going to take all that in coming up right now. My name is Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry. Thank you so much for watching our live stream today, noon every day, and we love doing what we love to do, and this is that thing that we love to do, and we love that you're a part of it. Give us some thumbs up and some subscribes, please. We really appreciate that. We've got a goal right now for our subscription numbers, and we'd love to see it explode, and that begins well, with you. I mean, you've watched the show enough. You know you love it. So subscribe and hit the notifications and the alerts. And to everybody who's already done that and watching us on our live stream, love you all. Enjoy the chat. Have a great time. And, mix it up a bit. Even argue with each other if you have to. We appreciate that. Today, it was a historic moment as the 39th president of the United States, James Earl Carter, was laid to rest with his state funeral in the nation's capital. He laid interned at the Capitol Rotunda for the last couple of days in state, and then his remains were moved dramatically and ceremoniously with much pomp and circumstance to the National Cathedral on Wisconsin Avenue, Northwest D.C. And there, the assembled crowd included a lot of ex-presidents and even a current president. It's scenes like this that are so remarkable, and we want to reflect on it. You had your President Carter, you had your President Clinton there in the pew. And this is all, the way they set it up. It's all very, protocol. There's a proper way to do it. The former presidents were seated in order in a pew, in the second pew. You had Clinton and his bride. You had George W. Bush, his bride. You had Barack Obama, stag. No spouse for Barack Obama. We'll get to that in a minute. And then you had former president, soon to be current president, Donald Trump and his bride, all sitting next to each other in a row. What a sight, right? And then in the row right in front of them in the pews, you had President Joe Biden, his wife Jill, and then Kamala Harris, vice president, woman who wanted to be president, and her main squeeze there, Doug. All right, let's get to the scene. Everyone was watching. Everyone wanted to see what was going to happen when Donald Trump arrived and took his seat. And the moment did not disappoint. Take a look at this.
As well, there is Donald Trump and Mike Pence. Al Gore, the former vice president, Pence and Trump. It's the first time they've seen each other since January 2021. A lot of tension between the two then, and it didn't look particularly warm just now, one might observe.
What do you mean it didn't look particularly warm? They were at a funeral. It looked as warm as Al Gore shaking his hand. It looked that's fine. Jake Tapper didn't look particularly warm. Pence's inner monologue, right? If only I had kept my mouth shut. If only I had just gone along with the program. If only I wouldn't have attempted to run against him in the primary. If only if only indeed. That's quite a moment. And yes, I think Jake Tapper is accurate, which is, twice a day a broken clock gets it right. He is accurate that I think this is the first time they've seen each other since basically this week 4 years ago, when the 45th president of the United States was packing it up and heading out of town. All right, so that was a big dramatic moment. Also, as Barack Obama took his seat, he started talking to Trump.
Okay, I couldn't see it from the angle I was at. Obama and Trump sitting next to each other, talking to each other there. But President Obama did Say hello to Marilyn Quayle and former Vice President Dan Quayle.
Wow, that's such an image.
That is an image.
It's
I mean,
good,
you don't
Good
see
image.
for it's always striking whenever you see any of these people who were political opponents. Although Obama and Trump never ran against each other. Here we should okay.
All right, let's just watch this together for a minute and try to, we need these lip readers, right, to tell us what they're really saying. But there's so much to unpack here that is just delightful and delicious. Here's one of the first things that everybody needs to understand and know, and something that the media will never tell you. Trump is actually a really fun guy. Trump is a fun guy to be around. Trump is a funny guy. People actually like hanging out with Donald Trump. And yes, that includes Barack Obama. But if you were Trump right now, what would you be saying to Barack Obama when he sits down next to you, knowing what's going to happen 10 days from now? You notice he did like a bro thing. He sort of leaned into him. It's like, so where's Michelle? Going stag, huh? So you're in town and you don't have a date? I could help you. I could set you up if you need. What's your flavor? What's your preference? I'm not judging. I'm just curious. Maybe Trump is leaning in there saying, hey, remember at the White House Correspondents Association dinner when you gave that whole joke about me never being president? And, I remember when you made me the butt of your jokes that night? How's that working out for you? How's that working out for you? Can I tell you something? In fact, I should show you the next video because the chumminess continued. And then this is the moment that's driving everybody nuts.
President Obama there, elected in 2008, served 2 terms, and then yielded there to President Donald Trump.
Look at that. I told you he's fun, and he's funny. Look at Obama. What do you think he's saying? You didn't really think Kamala was going to beat me, did you? What were you thinking going out there? You knew that she didn't have a chance. Come on. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing to watch. We'll never know exactly what he said. Maybe Trump will tell us. Maybe a reporter will ask him, what'd you say to Barack Obama to make him laugh like that? Oh, come on. And that's real. That's not a bull laugh. Look at it. The best thing about this video that you're seeing right now, these 8 seconds right here drive liberal Democrats insane. They hate this. Can I just let's just be clear here. That man on the left, former President Barack Hussein Obama, 1 week before Election Day, the last week of October, he was speaking at rallies on Kamala Harris's behalf, saying that Donald Trump would be a dictator on day one, that his election would be the end of the Constitution, that it would be the end of democracy in America, that Donald Trump said of white nationalist Klansmen in Charlottesville that they were very fine people. I mean, lie after fear-mongering lie, that this man is a beast. He's a monster. He has no business being anywhere near the Oval Office. And if he wins the election, if anybody with Kamala Harris wins the election, if Donald Trump becomes president again, it's over for the United States. And now here we are 2 months later. And look at that. 2 months later, and there he is, yucking it up, smiling, laughing with the fascist Klansman dictator who will ruin our country and put the Constitution through a shredder, because it was all bullshit. Nobody believed Barack Obama then. Nobody believes Barack Obama now. I mean, if you're a liberal Democrat who loves Obama and you were fist pumping when Obama was saying that this guy is a fascist dictator, and then suddenly you tune in and you see this, what are you supposed to think? What are you supposed to think? It's like it explodes everything, your entire, the basis of reality in American politics is blown apart by this image right here, because it was all complete and total bullshit. And now maybe they're coming to terms with that. All right, so that was a dramatic moment, right? Watching Donald Trump come in. You know what was even more dramatic? Watching Kamala Harris come in. Nice shoes, by the way. Can I just say, as a straight man in America, those are nice shoes. I'm just saying. So she comes in, poised, with her husband, Slugger, they call him. And look at the eye contact. Look at Trump eyeing her up and down. Oof. And then her expression after she has to make eye contact. Look at, hold on. We gotta go back. Watch W. Keep your eyes on W as he soaks in the scene. And now watch his face. Watch W. Watch him. Oh man, is that awkward? Oh God. Everyone's looking at Trump. Look at Trump continues like, and then suddenly Obama starts to talk to him. And look at Kamala is none too pleased that Obama is actually talking to that monster, that animal, that fascist, the guy who beat her and kept her from the White House. Did you see the big heavy sigh from Kamala? And Dougie here can hear everything they're saying. Doug can hear every word. And they just keep going and going and going. And God, the acid reflux in the back of Kamala Harris's throat right now must be so palpable. And then Hillary decides to chime in and tell Bill something. And Bill's just thinking, how long until I can go to the strip club? What a moment. Look at how all eyes are on her. And you got to look at Trump. Just continue the fixed gaze. They had to have seen each other right there. Watch Kamala's face. Hoof. Oh, big eyebrow raise. I don't want to be here. And look at Trump continue to stare and continue to stare. And then just pick it up again with Obama. How bizarre is all of this? And how amazing is it? And Trump just owns the room. Trump owns the room. From a different angle, I want you to see this. This is after Biden comes in. And hang on, is this I just want to make sure I get all of these videos in the right order. Oh, here, before Biden comes in, here's another angle of Kamala Harris picking up on the fact that Trump and Obama are talking with each other. Keep your eyes on, this is the same thing that we just saw from a different angle. Watch Kamala. Keep your eyes on Kamala. This is, it's so icy cold. Oh! Did you see that? Did you see the grimace on her face as she looked back, maybe to make eye contact with Obama, maybe have a conversation with Obama? Hey, bro, sorry you have to sit next to that guy, right? And instead, as she turns around, it turns out he's just fine. He's having a nice chat with Trump. Watch again. And then when she comes back, look at, she is pissed. Oh, she's pissed and it's beautiful. And now she's acting like she's reading the program while the two of them talk. And look at Melania. Melania, God bless her, is just staying poised. And was like, please, Donald, don't make a scene. Please, Donald. Don't tell those Obama jokes. Please, not now. It would be wrong. It would be inappropriate. And Kamala's acting, I wouldn't be surprised if that program was upside down. She's just pretending to read it. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. All right. Then Joe Biden shows up. Now, we've had a couple of big semi-awkward moments so far, right? We had Trump would come in, and it's sort of awkward because, he's a winner and the rest of them aren't. We had the awkward moment with Kamala. We had the awkward moment when Bush recognized how awkward it was with Kamala. Then we had Kamala recognizing that Obama was actually being nice to Trump and talking to him, and Kamala looked like she wanted to spit fire. Awkward, awkward, awkward. None of it compares to the Disney's Frozen, Let It Go, Ice Princess deep freeze that happens between Kamala Harris and Jill Biden. Because the way they had this set up, Jill Biden and Kamala Harris had to sit next to each other. And I just keep your eyes. I know you're going to want to look at Trump. You're going to want to look at Biden. You're going to want to look everywhere else. I'm begging you. Just keep your eyes on Jill and Kamala and their body language and their faces. Watch.
Started the year as the would-be Democratic presidential nominee, and we all know what happened after that. Again, you didn't see a particularly warm greeting between the first couple and the second couple, but again, we are at a funeral, so one has to take that into account. than trying to read the body language of the individuals there.
I love Tapper trying to rationalize all of this. Not a whole lot of interaction there between the first couple and the second couple, but we are at a funeral, and you have to take that into account. No, actually, they act like they've never met each other. No, actually, they act like they hate each other. Not a lot of interaction between the first couple and the second couple. How about zero interaction? How about they're sitting next to each other and they're actually turning their shoulders away from each other? Look at that. Look at how they're actually pivoting away from each other so that they don't actually have to catch each other in their peripheral vision. Oh, well, they're just overstruck with grief because of the passing of Jimmy Carter. He was 100 years old. Nobody's overcome with grief. Who wasn't expecting that? We've been expecting this for 2 decades. I'm sorry. Rest in peace. But come on. You can't tell me that you're overcome with grief, because I can't believe only the good die young. He's 100. No. They hate each other. They hate each other. They absolutely hate each other. I'm really starting to think that Jill voted for Trump. Anything to keep Kamala Harris from the White House. It's amazing. All right. By the way, one other item that I want to share with you on this video in particular, because, I think a lot of commentators are going to say, see, this is what's great about the American democratic process. This is what's so great about America, that these two can be at each other hammer and tongs, but when we have an important event like this, they're friends when all is said and done. They have something in common. Oh, you'll hear this cliche. It's the most exclusive club in the world. Former presidents of the United States. And they all have this bond, and they all fine. That's cliche. That's like boring. Here's my observation. I watch this. I'm looking at this, and I say, President Trump, I know that you love to take command of the room. I know that you think that you can charm and sway anybody, and you're probably right. But when you get up, sir, and leave the cathedral, please check your back for the knives. Because that man right there, yucking it up with you, having fun, smiling. Yeah, I remember 8 years ago when he was yucking it up and having fun and smiling and saying that he was going to do the most professional presidential transition in American history. And all the while he was meeting with Valerie Jarrett and James Comey and James Clapper and John Brennan and Joe Biden, and they were hatching the plan to sabotage your entire presidency with the Russian collusion hoax investigation. Now, I know that he's not president right now, but guess what? He is president right now. He is, because Joe Biden isn't doing anything. Joe Biden doesn't even know where he is. Joe Biden's sitting down next to Jill in the front pew saying, well, they've really made some changes to Disneyland. It's really kind of religious now, isn't it? So I beg you, President Trump, I know you're a smart guy. You're not going to fall for anything. Obama's laughing. He's smiling. I promise you, if he has the opportunity, and he will. All right, back to this clip. Now, listen to the CNN commentators, because a lot of people are looking at this scene and they're like, where's Michelle? Where's the greatest first lady in American history? Where's the most glamorous woman living today? Where's Michelle Obama? And I want you to listen how the CNN commentators explain away where Michelle is.
Happening. These are just moments that you don't see hardly ever. And just to go back to that moment where Trump walked into the room and shook hands with Mike Pence, that is the first interaction that those two have had. They have not even been in the same room in 4 years. I called to just double check that this morning with a few aides of both of theirs. And it just was a moment to see them come and shake hands with one another. And Jeff, obviously to see this moment, Jeff, you covered President Obama, to see the two of them speaking to one another, seated next to one another, which I don't think they have been at one of these funerals or gatherings where they've been in the same room before.
They have not. It truly is extraordinary. The last time most of them were in the same room was in 2018 at the funeral of George H.W. Bush. President Trump was in office then. One person missing. This is Michelle Obama. I'm told by her advisors that she had a scheduling conflict. She's actually still in Hawaii from an extended holiday vacation. So she's missing there. But if you look from these presidencies, they are linked.
Wait. I'm sorry. What was that? Can we just hear how they describe this again? So let me be truthful, honest, and, no bullshit CNN commentator and tell you, hey, a lot of people are wondering where Michelle Obama is. Well, she's on vacation in Hawaii and she decided she'd rather be there. That's the truth. But how did CNN try to spin this for Michelle
Obama? I'm told by her advisors that she had a scheduling conflict. She's actually still in Hawaii from an extended holiday vacation, so she's missing there. But if you look,
she had a scheduling conflict. Oh, really? A scheduling conflict? What? It had something to do with some charity function? She's helping cure cancer. She's supposed to, she's saving people from the fires in Los Angeles. What's the scheduling conflict exactly? You promised an orphanage that you would go and raise money for them. What's the scheduling conflict? She's on an extended holiday in Hawaii. She's hanging out with Oprah in Maui, checking out all the new real estate they're going to buy after those fires. And they spin it with, she has a scheduling conflict. How rude and disrespectful. Well, I mean, listen, we knew Michelle Obama hated being first lady. We knew Michelle Obama hated all the pomp and circumstances. We knew that Michelle Obama hated being seen in the same room with Donald Trump. We know all of that about Michelle. For God's sake, she even admitted that she never really had any love or respect for her country until the moment they decided to vote for her husband. So of course she's not there. But for CNN to spin it, oh, it was a scheduling conflict. She's out yucking it up in Hawaii. This is embarrassing. But you know what? We don't expect any of them to change. By the way, real fast, not for nothing, this scene here, it's really impressive here. You've got your former presidents right there, right? And one future president. It's funny, if you think about it, in this room, after Joe Biden gets there, there are 3 one-term presidents all at the same time, right? Except, unlike Jimmy Carter, may he rest in peace, and Joe Biden, maybe pretty soon to be resting in peace, Donald Trump will actually do something that those 2 one-term presidents never did. He's actually going to now serve his second term, not consecutively. That makes him even more unique, doesn't it? What a victory lap for Trump here. What a flex over those other guys. And all these other 3 who did serve 2 terms, well, they did it the boring way. They did it the traditional way. You served them back to back. No. You want to be a real man? You serve your 2 terms over the course of 12 years. That's what a real man does. One other thing, though, if you look in the back row there, you've got Al Gore, former vice president. You've got Mike Pence, former vice president. Of course, Joe Biden, when he enters, he is also a former vice president, right? Where's Dick Cheney? Where's Dick Cheney? Is she in Hawaii? Is Dick Cheney in Hawaii with Michelle? Where's he? Why didn't he show up? He could have brought Liz. Fascinating, isn't it? I'm sure we'll have a story there. He had a scheduling conflict too. He had a scheduling conflict that is basically translated to there's no way he was going to show his face after Kamala Harris used him and his daughter to try to win the election, and it was a complete and total failure. And now they have to live with 4 more years of Donald Trump. It's a humiliating loss. And frankly, Kamala Harris took all the humiliation for all of them. What a moment. What a scene. And, well, rest in peace, Jimmy Carter. All righty. As we reported here yesterday, Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, was on a fact-finding mission to Ghana while her city was going up in flames. The fact-finding mission, by the way, in Ghana, I believe, was so she could really properly refine the best way to turn LA into a third world nation. She's going to make LA Ghana again. I think that's the plan. That was an odd slogan running for re-election, but hey, you go with God, Karen Bass. Obviously, the political pressure was intense, and she hopped on the second. Well, actually, I think she took her sweet time, but she found herself on a plane eventually and flew back to Los Angeles. And while she was in a holding room at LAX waiting for VIP escort through the terminal, and I want you to think about that for a minute. because everything you're about to see here would not have happened if she had just left the plane like a normie, like a regular person, and gone through the terminal. But no, she sat in a special holding place waiting for VIP escort to get through the terminal. And because of that, a reporter for Sky News recognized her, saw her, and confronted her.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home? Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
Hold on one second.
So you saw what happened there. She was waiting at the door. You've all been on one of these, walkways that take you onto the airplane. And there's a door right there. That's where, like, if your bag is too big and it won't fit in the overhead compartment, then you have to check it right there at the door of the plane, and then they take it down. So she was waiting at that door, hoping to get an escort onto the tarmac, right? But then she had had enough. So she said, screw it. I don't want to deal with this reporter. So then she starts walking. And then she turns to this door because she thinks, all right, maybe I can get to the tarmac this way. Maybe she has experience and she's been escorted off that way anyway in the past. I don't know. But then she's about to open the door, and you saw that there's a big sign there that says alarm's going to sound, right? It's like a Jamal Bowman situation. She's going to press the fire alarm here, and she's still trying to escape. And she wants to go to her VIP restricted area so that she doesn't have to deal with this reporter.
Madam Mayor, just a few words for the citizens today as you return to deal with the catastrophe.
Can you take this down? David, as you...
And there you have it. All right, and we're going to get the reporter to react to this in a minute, but just real fast before we do, and it was a great, what a moment if you're a reporter and you see this person, you're able to do that. You've got your equipment with you. She's a politician. She's an elected official. She's a former congresswoman. These are all fundamental questions that this guy was asking that every single person in her city, every voter, every citizen in the county of Los Angeles, state of California, in the United States of America deserve an answer to. She's been sitting on planes flying back from Ghana for 18, probably 22 hours. At no point did she think up an answer to some of these fundamental questions. At no point did she or any of her staff members work up some talking points that she could utilize. At no point she can just look up and engage with a reporter at a moment like this. This is the first time you're seen. You've been disappeared. You've been invisible during the entire disaster. Now it's not like the camera is going to go away. It's not like if you ignore it and close your eyes, it disappears. You're on camera. This is the moment you've returned. You're a politician. Politic. Show some basic communication skills. Even if it's, listen, I understand the spirit of all of your questions. My focus right now is on the people of Los Angeles and their homes. I'm focused on that. I am going to answer all of your questions, but at another time. This is not the appropriate time because I am too focused on getting to where I need to be to make sure that everybody is safe and sound. And, anybody, I can do it. I'm not an elected official and I can BS my way through it. But instead, like the incompetent, inept, uncaring, unfeeling, she just sat there. She sat there like her batteries had been taken out. like her voice box had been broken, like nobody had programmed what the right thing is for her to say and do. In a moment, you're going to see that she can't even read a script when her staff can prepare remarks for her. But let's turn back to the reporter's analysis here first, and then we'll move on.
You say she wasn't very keen to answer any of your questions there. And fire chiefs are also admitting that they just don't have enough personnel to take out the fires.
Yeah, they're fighting all sorts of challenges. They're talking about a water shortage. There are reports of fire hydrant failures. They've been unable to use firefighting aircraft for much of the day due to the smoke that is billowing ominously from the hills where the wildfires are raging. And I suppose despite that political storm, this is, of course, at its heart, a human story, because we've now 80,000 people evacuated. Tens of thousands of others are on standby to be evacuated. 2 lives have been lost in the Eaton fire, which is what's causing the consequence behind us. The city's iconic landscape almost shrouded completely by the smoke. And they're really just taking it one step at a time, hoping at some stage the wind's going to change.
Hey, Kevin McMahon, the great executive producer of this FAIR program, live streaming as we speak. You can take a look at that Chiron. You're better at this than I am. You have a college degree. Is that how you spell fueling?
You know, that might be how the Brits spell fueling.
Really? The Brits spell fueling with a double L? Do they?
They do all sorts of weird stuff like that. Like when they write canceling, they use a different spelling. It's very odd.
I mean, it's one thing to add a U in color, right? And to call an elevator a lift, but double L in fueling? I don't know if that's the Queen's English, or I'm sorry, the King's English. We need a fact check on that. We've got viewers in Europe. Give us a fact check in the comment section, please. Either way, if that's how they spell fueling, no wonder they've got issues over there in England with their currency and with inflation. I mean, they got enough time and money on their hands to just haphazardly throw extra consonants into a word when they're not necessary. That's ridiculous. I think that's wrong. I don't think that's how you spell fueling. All right, let's let him finish.
Direction or to die down, and that they're going to be able to get this fire under control.
All right, that's the end of that. I just wanted to make sure that he had his last word, because he had a good get with Karen Bass, and he deserved to have the final word there. All right, then Karen Bass got her act together. All right, she exits, she runs across the tarmac, she gets into her limousine. They motorcade her to where she needs to be so that she can give a crisis response, and she shows up with scripted, prepared remarks. Again, I want you to know, you're in Ghana this whole time. You're flying back. You've got all this time. I would think you've got a 5-minute speech you need to deliver. You should be able to commit it to memory, right? But no, her staffers write out what she's going to say, and she reads the prepared remarks. And it did not go well, because during the remarks, she wanted to direct the citizens of Los Angeles to a website that will provide information and help if they need help. Never mind the fact that half of the people don't even have electricity, right, to get to a website. But that's fine. It makes it look like we're doing something. So let's give people the website address.
Build stronger than ever. Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this.
Wait. She did not just do that. Hold on. I'm sorry. All that information and help is where now?
Information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together.
What a more. She's the Ron Burgundy of mayors. Good night, San Diego. I'm Ron Burgundy. Who put the question mark in the teleprompter? He'll read anything that's up there. Here's what happened. Her staffers put together the prepared remarks. As they were writing out the speech, they did not know the exact web address. So they just put space in there as a filler. They just put URL, knowing that one of the interns would go back after the fact and fill in the actual proper web address where it said URL. But then, of course, that intern never did that. And they printed out the speech and they said, here it is. And then Karen Bass, the president of the Mensa Club in Los Angeles, is sharp as a tack. I mean, she's as sharp as Joe Biden was and is and will be. She's reading her prepared remarks. She gets to the point where she's supposed to give the web address and it says URL, and she just says URL.
Now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this.
You know, any normal human being, can I pretend I'm a politician? Here, I've got a piece of paper. All of the resources and information can be found at, hey guys, all it says here is URL. What's the website? Does someone know what the website is, please? This is important. People are looking for information. For God's sake, what's the URL? Someone? Thank you. The URL is www.laisburning.gov. That's what a normal human being does. She is a professional politician. She's the mayor of the second largest city in America. Her city is on fire. She's delivering vital information to her citizens.
Shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles.
Just resign. Just resign. For God's sake, resign. I hope every Democrat in Los Angeles right now, as they see their home burning to the ground and all of their memories turned into ash, I hope they are at least feeling some sort of smug self-satisfaction that they elected the first Black female mayor. Because that's what she ran as, that's what she won as, and that's pretty much all she's bringing to the table. Congratulations. You broke the glass ceiling. You checked boxes. How's that working out for you? By the way, you know how social media and the internet is forever. This post on Twitter, back when it was Twitter, from Karen Bass, that same Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, is not really sitting well and living well in America's memories. You remember when Ted Cruz, during the power outages in Texas, when they were having extraordinary freezing and they were having all this infrastructure problem. Ted Cruz fleeing Texas in the middle of a deadly crisis is part of a larger pattern of the GOP abandoning folks in crisis. We need to build a movement to kick them all out. She was literally on the other side of the planet as mayor of Los Angeles. By the way, say what you will about the optics of Ted Cruz, the U.S. senator from Texas, being in, I think, Cancun, it was, while there was a state crisis there of the power grid. But a U.S. senator for the state of Texas literally does nothing at a moment like that. She is the mayor of the city. She is in charge of the fire department. She's in charge of the water department. She's in charge of every employee of the city. It's kind of an apples to oranges comparison, but she's a Democrat, so she'll get away with it. So will this guy. He's also a Democrat. He's the governor of California. He's Governor Hair Gel. It's got to break his heart to see what's happening here. Gavin Newsom, you know that he is feeling the pain of this moment as he stands there in Altadena with these fires. Oh, no. I'm sorry. I know I'm seeing what you're reacting to in the chat. No. I don't mean that he's feeling the emotion and pain of people losing their homes. No. He's got to feel the emotion and pain of having to wear a hat instead of showing everyone his incredible hair gel work on his hair. He looks just nobody else does the Batman villain look like Governor Hair Gel Gavin Newsom. Anderson Cooper. Now understand something. There was a lot of talk yesterday about the fact that Gavin Newsom single-handedly, as lieutenant governor and then as governor, championed the cause of a little fish called the Delta smelt. Now, in the name of protecting the Delta smelt, water that was supposed to be diverted and kept in reservoirs, Governor Pete Wilson, the last Republican, Schwarzenegger doesn't count, the last Republican governor of California, Pete Wilson, actually put together a huge plan to capture water runoff, some of it coming from Canada, from the mountains in the Sierra Nevadas that are in California that run off into the state. He put together a huge master plan to capture that rainwater, hold it in reserve, put it in reservoirs, and flow it properly to jurisdictions for agriculture purposes and for emergency purposes, just like this. And the Democrats, and then later specifically Gavin Newsom, blocked every effort to do that, all in the name of protecting the Delta smelt. This is truth. This is fact. Fact check me. I love it when you do. You'll see what I'm talking about. Go ahead and fact check Governor Pete Wilson. He just wrote a letter to the Los Angeles Times in 2019, the last time we had these fires that were raging out of control. And he said, I had a plan to do this. Democrats stopped me from doing it. Okay. 100% truthful. Delta smelt. Look up the Delta smelt. They've been fighting over the Delta smelt for like 20 years in California. All right. So that was in the news cycle yesterday. Anderson Cooper gets Gavin Newsom standing in front of this raging inferno. And does Anderson Cooper say, Mr. Governor, is it true that in the name of saving the Delta smelt, you refused to reserve any water so that we could fight these fires, and you instead diverted all of the water to the Pacific Ocean that was running off the mountains? What do you say to that? Now, any normal reporter would have done that, because that's what reporters do. They ask tough questions, fact-based, tough questions to the elected official to hold them accountable. Speak truth to power, right? Is that what Anderson Cooper did? No. No, he did not. What did Anderson Cooper do? Watch what Anderson Cooper did.
Phase. We're in the public safety phase.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
It's
wow. That's what Anderson Cooper did. First of all, I hate to have to even ask you this. Oh, nice job speaking truth to power, Anderson. Oh, that's a fine use of your freedom of the press. Oh, don't be mad at me for asking you this. I hate myself for having to do this. And instead of actually asking him a question based on the facts and the history and the legislation and his political position on all of this and the deadly ramifications we're now dealing with, instead of actually asking him about the policy, he frames the entire thing on Trump blames you. What do you say to him? This is despicable. It's disgusting. It's pathetic. It's journalistic malpractice. Every time they start screaming about the fact of how vital they are to our Constitution and our freedoms, that's why they have to have unencumbered freedom of the press. Remember moments like this, because the biggest danger to journalistic freedom in this country are bad, pathetic, in the tank propagandists like this who pretend like they're journalists. All right. Sorry, let's watch how the exchange goes from here.
Ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
It's one can't even respond to it. I mean, it's people are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder. Churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I know what I want to say. I won't. I stood next to a president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden. And he had the backs of every single person in this community. He didn't play politics, didn't try to divide any of us.
Wow. Couple things on this. First of all, great, brilliant. I mean, this is why I fear Gavin Newsom more than any other politician out there, because he is so brazen and shameless with his bull. He is able to do this and actually make it look like he's got high moral standing. That is a complete and total dodge. He wants to politicize this, but I'm not going to politicize this. I stood by children who lost their schools. I've watched people lose their homes, and I'm not even going to dignify that with a response. And it's like, oh, thank you, Gavin Newsom, for not dignifying it with a response. Of course, Anderson Cooper helped him out by making the entire thing about Trump blamed you. What do you say? By the way, all of this garbage about not politicizing a disaster. Last time I checked, when you've got school children lying tragically in their own blood from a school shooting, it's guys like Gavin Newsom who take every opportunity to politicize those tragedies. Not children who have lost their schools in a fire, children who have lost their lives, and they immediately make it about infringing on the constitutional right to bear arms. They never hesitate to politicize any kind of problem. or even a natural disaster, although I still refuse to call this a natural disaster. But when a hurricane comes in and devastates people's lives, if there is a Republican anywhere in close proximity, they will be the first ones to politicize it and say they're to blame. But now suddenly we point out the historic fact that they have been negligent in good governance with regard to land management, deforestation, and water management. And you suddenly say, oh, I will not even dignify that. And by the way, this last statement, I stood next to a president today, and I was proud to stand next to him. Okay, let's see what it looks like when Gavin Newsom is standing next to that president. What did Joe Biden do exactly today?
We got this notification yesterday their home is probably burning down. Today, parents are maybe still standing, I'm not sure. But the good news is, I'm a great grandfather as of today. I have a granddaughter. And I'm baby girl, baby boy.
So Gavin Newsom is proud to stand next to Joe Biden today compared to Donald Trump coming into office, because at the moment of crisis, when the president, by the way, just happened to be there because he was doing yet another federal land grab of the South Coachella Valley. And then, and I think he was also raising money from big Hollywood bigwigs trying to figure out, he was actually meeting with agents at CAA, Creative Artists Agency, to sign a deal with them to handle his presidential library and all of the money that he's going to graft off of that from the Chinese and God knows whoever else Hunter is going to get his fingers in. Oh, let's watch the finances of the Biden library. Who the hell is going to go to the Biden library anyway? What is it, a bunch of coloring books? The Hunter Biden wing might be interesting. His reading material, I mean, it's going to be 18 and over. It's going to be like the old porn section at the video store. Oh, I just said the P word, didn't I? And now that's going to screw us up on the algorithms. Dang it. Dang it. This proves I work without a script. Remember the old video stores where you would go and you'd get in and it's like, oh, what goes on behind those curtains where it says adults only? That's the Hunter Biden section of the Biden Presidential Library. So that's why he's out there. He wasn't out there because he was responding to the disaster. He was already in LA trying to work out a deal for his next $1 billion grift and then grab more land for the federal government from the state of California in the Coachella Valley. And then as he's standing there with Gavin Newsom is so proud, he sits there and wastes everybody's time by saying, but the good news is I'm a great grandfather today. You're living in Altadena, you're living in Silmar, you're living in the Pacific Palisades, you're tuning in to see what kind of assistance you're going to get, and you hear Joe Biden bragging about being a great grandfather today? Oh, well, that's comforting. That's super comforting. Thanks, Joe. Guys, this has got to end Gavin Newsom's career. It's got to. I'm so tired. It's been years now. As a former Angelino, I've been hitting my head against the wall as a former Californian, trying to warn everybody about this guy. You thought Kamala Harris was going to be bad? Gavin Newsom is the real thing. He is truly an evil socialist. And he is, and even this disaster, he will somehow figure out a way to turn into a political advantage for him. That's how Machiavellian he is. And I blame Kimberly Guilfoyle for all of this. And if you don't get that, please just search it because I don't want to get into it. That's me not knowing how to end the segment. So I just throw a gratuitous reference to Kimberly Guilfoyle. Images I don't need in my head. The LA fires have affected tons of high-profile people. I mean, the Pacific Palisades is just populated with Hollywood actors, writers, directors, producers. My agent lives there. A ton of individuals who are incredibly high profile in the entertainment industry. And one really valuable thing has been to harness in and tap into the incredibly talented talk radio hosts who live in California, who know California politics. I used to work on the radio station KABC, so I'm plugged into a lot of this stuff too. But nobody knows more about what's going on in this area than podcaster and broadcasting legend Adam Carolla. Adam Carolla actually lives in Glendale, I think, last I checked, which borders Altadena, where one of the major fires is. He had to evacuate. He did his podcast from a hotel room. I'm guessing, I think that's a Residence Inn based on those lamps. I'm guessing a Marriott brand of some kind because I know those lamps. This is Bonvoy all the way. I want you to listen to this segment from the Adam Carolla podcast because it's incredibly insightful. But he also talks about how this entire experience might just change the political landscape in California as it devastates the actual geographic landscape. Let's watch.
The guys who lost their $20 million homes on the ocean side of PCH will be knee deep in the permit process. They will be trying to pull permits when the guys in the Winnebagos will have been back for months before those guys ever get a permit. As a matter of fact, good fucking luck, because here's the deal. Alan Hamill and Suzanne Summers moved because they could not get a permit to rebuild their home of 40 years on the ocean on PCH, right? So here's what's going to happen. Let me just give you guys a little primer of what's going to happen. You know how Bill Maher seems real conservative now when he's like arguing with Jane Fonda about regulations, too many regulations, like strangling everything? Because remember, when Bill Maher tried to put solar in his house in Beverly Hills, that's when he turned against the government, because he saw what the government and the overreach of government and overregulation does. He got strangled. It took him 3 years to build a solar shack. He had a whole countdown on his show, you know, day 1,000 since I've got my permit for my solar. He turned. Okay. The people who live in Malibu, who live in Santa Monica, who live in the Palisades, those are some of the most progressive blue voters in the world, or in the United States. They are a bastion of blue. So what those guys did is, all the people in the Palisades, I checked it out. It's about 80% blue, 80% progressive, 80% Democrat. Now, these pussies are all sitting around crying about Karen Bass, water pressure. How come the forest wasn't cleared of all the brush? What's happening with the infrastructure? You guys all voted for Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. You all voted for Gavin Newsom. And now you fucking get what you get. Oh, now that your house is on fire, well, now you're thinking about something else. Now you want to know what's going on. What's going on around here? You didn't give a shit about what was going on when other people's houses were on fire, but now you care. So here's what's going to happen. All these people who were deep blue Democrats are now going to have to pull a permit to rebuild. And they're going to get the 28-year-old bitch from the Coastal Commission telling them to go fuck off. And then they're going to vote for Trump or whoever's Trumpian next. You see, they're going to get turned. They're going to get turned hard because, as I've always said, live in the rent control apartment in Santa Monica, fine, good. We know how you vote. Go deal with the city. Try to pull a permit. These are going to be thousands of homes, super wealthy people, and these people don't want to live in Van Nuys. They like it where they are. They love Malibu. They love the Palisades. They love Santa Monica. There's going to be a whole bunch of rich people, and they're going to go, I'm rebuilding, and I want to rebuild as fast as I can. And between the part where they go in to planning commission and plan check and initially and try to pull a permit to the time the first load of lumber, the first load of 2x4s is dropped off on their lot where their house formerly stood, it's going to be 3 years and 1,000 permits and 1,000 arguments and 1,000 discussions with the Coastal Commission, not to mention little tidbits that they didn't think about, like Carson Daly. You want a swimming pool? Yep. Got to be double hulled. Really? Yeah. Well, why? Well, what if water leaches out and gets into the groundwater table? Carson Daly had to build a swimming pool like a modern day oil tanker. Had to be like a double hulled. That's all right. It'll just cost $500,000 for a swimming pool. Like that. They're going to be, when they start getting the regulation, they're going to go nuts. And when they start running into the bureaucracy and the red tape, they're going to start going nuts, and they're going to vote for Rick Caruso next time because they want to get. That's all Trump says is we're going to pull back the regulations. We're going to free people up. They're going to find out. They're going to get bit by their own snake. They're going to convert. I am telling you, these are the bluest people on the planet, and they're going to be fucking ripshit pissed when the city and the Coastal Commission tell them to fuck off. And by the way, I don't think the Coastal Commission is going to okay anyone rebuilding any of their houses on the coast because they say they're in the business of protecting the coast. They're in the business of getting you to leave. They will get their wish, which is no buildings. And they're going to make it hard for everyone. And then we're going to have to restructure the whole thing because we can't have 9 angry lesbians controlling everything that goes on in Malibu, the Palisades, and Santa Monica.
He's just absolutely one of the best and a trailblazer, actually. His podcast sort of led the way 13, 14 years ago. Love Adam Carolla. Absolutely love him. And he's right about a ton of that. But I differ on a couple of things, and let me explain why. First of all, people often ask me, I used to live in Southern California as well. I spent the greater part of my life there. I've lived here in the DC area now for about 13 years. I've spent my entire life as a conservative Republican living in the bluest places. I lived in New York City. I lived in Los Angeles, and now I live in DC. Well, outside of DC. It's frustrating to say the least, but I have lived in New York and in Los Angeles and in California when it was run by Republicans. And people ask me all the time, when will California ever vote for another Republican for mayor of LA or for governor of California? When will New York finally, vote for a Republican mayor again? I was there when Rudy Giuliani became mayor. I was in LA when Dick Riordan became the mayor of LA, when Governor Pete Wilson was the Republican governor of the state. I always give the same answer. Things have to get so bad that they finally will prioritize competence and efficiency and actually saving people's lives over how easily you can kill the baby in your womb. That's the answer. That's the answer. You have to find that delta point where being able to kill babies in your womb as easily as possible and as late as possible and as young as possible, young in terms of the age of the mother, without any encumbrance. That priority has to somehow be overshadowed by the level of danger you're feeling, the quality of life, or just absolute insane economic conditions. And so far, since Riordan, Wilson, and Pataki Giuliani, who were the governor and mayor of New York at the time, since then, it hasn't reached that point. Is this the tipping point? Maybe. I tend to think not anymore, sadly, because there's a couple of differences now than 20 years ago, the last time this happened, 25 years ago, I guess, the last time this happened when it was that bad. The first is, and he's right, Caruso might win. Caruso is a businessman, okay? A career politician in California who's a Republican, somebody who's held elected office, if there are any left, they're not going to be able to become the governor. They're not going to be able to become mayor of Los Angeles. One of the guys who wanted to be a governor of California in the last recall election of Gavin Newsom was the very successful mayor of San Diego. He didn't even make it to the final. I think it was Larry Elder, of all people, who ended up being the main challenger to Gavin Newsom, which is exactly what Gavin Newsom wanted. He didn't want to run against somebody who had experience actually running the government and doing good things in San Diego. So of course he won. But the fact of the matter is, you need to be a Donald Trump. You need to be like Rick Caruso, who wants to be mayor of Los Angeles. He is a wealthy real estate developer. And he's got to go in there not as a Republican, but just as a common sense man who's tired of inefficiency and he's going to get things done. That's what Dick Riordan was. Dick Riordan was a restaurant owner of a beloved restaurant in downtown Los Angeles. He had had enough with 4 terms of Mayor Tom Bradley. Tom Bradley retires. Dick Riordan says, enough is enough. I can't get a permit. I got all the stuff that Adam is complaining about now. That's how Dick Riordan made his way into office. All right. And by the way, the last major, horrific disaster that California had was the Northridge earthquake of 1994. And at the time, Pete Wilson was governor, Republican. Dick Reardon was mayor of Los Angeles, Republican. We had freeway overpasses broken and busted. You know, you bust the 10 freeway in Los Angeles, the Santa Monica freeway, and you have crippled that town. Pete Wilson, Dick Reardon said, okay, no red tape, no bid process. You get this fixed in less than 100 days, and every day you get it fixed short of 100 days, we'll give you bonus after bonus after bonus. Well, son of a gun, they got the freeways repaired because suddenly things can be done efficiently and with a profit motive because they didn't deal with all of the crap that Adam Carolla just laid out there. But of course, that was 25 years ago. And now the slow creep of all this regulation has come back in, and the place is a disaster. When Rick Caruso ran against Karen Bass a couple of years ago, he ran on I'm going to do something to fix homelessness, and I'm going to do something to fix crime. And I'll tell you what, that wasn't enough in Los Angeles to defeat the woman who ran as, hey, I'm a black woman, everybody, and Black Lives Matter. Enough said. I'll break a glass ceiling, and that's what they got. They got what they got. Now, will it be enough to possibly in the city of Los Angeles? I don't know if it is for the state of California. There's another reason why in New York and in California, but it's even worse in California. It's even a bigger long shot. There's two big reasons why it's a bigger long shot that you could ever get a Republican governor back in Sacramento. Number one, there is no functioning Republican Party anymore. Really. When Dick Reardon won in Los Angeles, you had multiple terms of Republican governors. You had George Deukmejian as the Republican governor for 8 years, and then you had Pete Wilson. So they had a structure, they had fundraising, they had some semblance of organization as a Republican Party. Schwarzenegger blew that all apart. There really isn't a functioning Republican Party in that state anymore. So it's such an outside long shot. Maybe as mayor of Los Angeles, you can get somebody to come in there as a maverick. But for the state of California, the organization you need, it could. I suppose it could happen. Maybe if Mel Gibson runs, maybe I don't know. I honestly don't know. The other reason, I told you there were two more reasons. One is that the other reason why it's a long shot for this to happen in California again is that Republicans, Adam Carolla just laid out this whole scenario where these guys are going to want to rebuild their homes. And then because of the red tape and the regulations and the nightmares and the expenses, they're going to be so upset. They're going to be so angry. They're going to be so frustrated that they're going to vote in a new mayor. No, they're not. You know what they're going to do? They're going to do what so many people have done. They're going to leave. They're going to leave the state. They've got friends who have moved to the beautiful hills of Tennessee. They've got friends who have moved to Florida. They've got beaches there too. They've got palm trees there too. Yes, it's humid and they've got big mosquitoes as well, but they're just going to leave. They're just going to leave. They're not going to stay. So all those pissed off people who could actually make a difference, they're going to be gone. And all you're going to have left are the same people who just continue to live with all of this crap. But as long as you can kill those babies right up until the moment of birth without any questions asked, well, sign me up for 4 more years. And that's the sad reality. I hope Adam Carolla is right. I do. Like I said, when do you get a Republican running California again? When things get just that bad. Or never again. All right. Now, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback and sort of say, I told you so when you see this disaster develop out in California. But a lot of the people who are saying, I told you so, are actually pulling up the videotape and saying, no, really, literally, I told you so. We start with Joe Rogan.
I talked to a fireman once. This is one of the reasons it freaked me out. And he was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind. And fire is going to start in the right place, and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean, and there's not a fucking thing we can do about it. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we just get lucky. He goes, we get lucky with the wind. He goes, but if the wind hits the wrong way, it's just going to burn straight through LA, and there's not going to be a thing we can do about it. Because these fires are so big, dude. When they're talking about like thousands of acres that are burning simultaneously with like 40-mile-an-hour winds. And the wind's just blowing embers through the air, and those embers are landing on roofs, and those houses are going up, and they're landing on bushes, and those bushes are going up, and everything's dry. And once it happens in a way where it's so spread out that there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do.
You just have to evacuate, right?
Nothing.
And that's exactly what we're seeing happen tragically, sadly, horrifically. When we went to sleep last night, we saw fires start on the Hollywood Hills. Yeah, the hills right where the famous Hollywood sign is and the Griffith Park Observatory. They had to evacuate people in the Hollywood Hills down to Sunset Boulevard. That's the center of of urban living in the west side of Los Angeles, and they had to evacuate people in Santa Monica as well, right up to the coastline. It's terrifying. It truly is. And yes, everybody saw this coming. There's something about Los Angeles and California in general where people feel like, oh, well, we figured out what the problem is with these fires. Let's fix this one thing and then we'll move on. I was a kid in the 80s when there were fires, really bad fires, devastating fires. And you've seen these scenes right now where the fire is moving from house to house, and like the palm trees, the ember flies to the palm tree and the palm tree catches on fire, and then the fronds burn, and then the frond falls on the roof and eventually starts to catch that house on fire. And I remember back in the 80s when I was a kid in California, we had these fires, and the roofs at the time, you can look this up, fact check it, this is all true. The roofs in most of the California homes were made out of wood shingles, wood shake shingle roofs. Believe it or not, the shingles were basically dried out chunks of wood. And they used them because aesthetically they looked beautiful. But funny thing about dried out wood as your roof, it catches fire like, dead wood does. And these houses, I mean, the fires would just bounce from house to house and the roof would become an inferno. And so California saw this, and California said, well, we got to stop that. We got to fix that. So they came up with a new law that outlawed wood shake shingles. And now if you want to have that aesthetic look on your roof, you got to buy these ceramic tile shingles that look like wood shake shingles, but they're really ceramic. And they won't catch on fire like wood does, and see, problem solved. And that's literally what people thought. Oh, there you go. The problem was the shingles on the roofs. Problem solved. Let's move on until 5 years later, the Santa Ana winds come again. And any semblance of leadership right now in California, if you say, what are you going to do about these fires? All they say is, well, we got to ban automobiles, and we've got to sign the Paris Climate Accords, and we've got to stop using coal for energy, and we've got to install more solar panels and wind turbines. And that's the way we solve it, because they're all blaming it on greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? Can I tell you something? You could, today, if you could snap your fingers like it's, Avengers Endgame, snap your fingers, and every single carbon dioxide emitting device in this planet, every car, every plane, every barbecue grill, every farting cow, every single thing stopped, you're still going to have forest fires. Do you know how I know? Because we can tell through archaeological discoveries that there were devastating forest fires before anybody figured out that fossil fuels could burn and run an engine. Okay? Fires have been around forever, and they'll continue. And I saw a stat today. 2 days of these fires in Southern California. 2 days. Because look at the picture on the right there. Do you see all that stuff in the air? You see all that stuff? Guess what that is? Those are greenhouse gases. Those are carbon dioxide emissions. That's smoke, everything that's burning. In 2 days of fires in Southern California, you have emitted more carbon into the atmosphere to create greenhouse gas effect than an entire year's worth of cars in the state of California. It's really, every time a politician tells you that the problem with these fires is climate change and the way to fix them is to pass more regulations, you have every right to throw something at the television. Don't break your TV. But you should mock them. You should laugh them out of the room. And if you actually ask fire professionals, and by the way, I'm not saying that climate change, however you want to describe that, is not a factor here. Yeah, likewise, if a politician says this has nothing to do with climate change, well, no. The fact of the matter is, if we are stuck in a weather pattern right now where every few years we have tons and tons of rain in California, And that creates huge amounts of overgrowth because of all that rain. And then you have 3 years of arid, dry desert conditions. And that kills all of that growth that was just growing because of all the rain. And now it's just dead and brittle and dry. And then a fire starts. That's a recipe for disaster. Now, we can argue about what caused those weather conditions, what caused all the extra rain, what caused all the dry conditions. I don't care. You may think it's greenhouse gases. You may think, I don't care. That's a whole other argument. The bottom line is, this is what's happening. So what do you do about it? And no one in California seems committed to the fact that if we've got all this undergrowth and then it dies, we need to clear it out so that it doesn't catch on fire. Or if it does catch on fire, it's not going to create an inferno like this. And for decades, they've just allowed this to happen. For decades, they've allowed it to happen. And yes, it is lazy politicians. It's also politicians whose fundraising is reliant on these insane environmentalist groups that only want to ban cars because they think that's the solution to everything. Also, by the way, it's these environmental groups that go to court and sue and try to block everything, even when the Democrats, and they have had their moments, when they say, we got to do something, we got to clear all this brush and we got to go to this. So let's say, here's our plan to do it. Then they're sued by these environmental groups, and then a judge comes in and makes a settlement, or the Democrats then decide, oh, well, we don't want to fight them because they give us all our political contributions, so we'll just settle. But the bottom line is nothing gets done, and it continues to perpetuate. And as Joe Rogan just said, you ask any professional, you ask any firefighter, you ask anybody who knows this stuff, and they'll tell you the truth. They'll tell you what will stop it. You ever wonder why this is almost exclusively California? It's not like Arizona and New Mexico and Nevada and other Western states don't have similar conditions. Why is it only California? And don't say, oh, well, because California is a desert. You're right. Southern California is. Northern California isn't. And yet we have fires in Northern California too. Why is it California? Why? Well, part of it is what I just described with regard to the rains and the brush and the growth, and then it dies, and then it becomes fuel for these fires. Part of it is because of the Santa Ana winds that come in from the desert. But there's another part of the equation too. It also points back to land management, water control, Democrats, and these environmental groups who sue the state of California. And that's where Donald Trump predicted this. This was during the campaign. This was in October, right before Election Day, when he sat with Joe Rogan and he told the story about how he was trying to force on California some sort of quid pro quo. You want to keep getting federal disaster money to bail you out when you've got these fires? All right, fine. You're Americans. We want to help you. But in exchange, you've got to do something proactively so this doesn't keep happening. So let's start trapping all of this fall off, this rainwater, put it in reservoirs so you don't run out of water during the fires. And what happened then? Take it away, Trump.
They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why did you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north. Water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. I could have water for all of that land. Water for your forests. You know, your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You know, you could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And, you know, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. And all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves, get rid of, you know, leaves that are sitting there for 5 years. And
we'll certainly get rid of the dead fall.
And get rid of the trees that are fallen.
Yeah.
That, you know,
yeah, they predicted it. They saw it coming. They explained exactly why it was happening. And now, sadly, here we are. And it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy, but it's not a natural tragedy. And it's not a tragedy handed down from God. No, it is preventable. It is. I'm not saying the forest fires aren't going to happen. They have always happened, and they will continue to happen, but not like this. And it's not more extraordinary because of climate change. This is a man-made disaster. And by the way, it is preventable if we actually have a government that works again. And what's amazing to me, and it continues to blow my mind, is traditionally Democrats would be all over themselves, so excited about a big government program that spent a lot of money hiring a lot of people to go in and do forest management, mitigation, and these are good public works projects that only the government can do. And that's who we are. We're Democrats and we do those things, but they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it because that's how beholden they are to their new religion, their climate change religion. And they've decided that continuing to run in front of the cameras and say it's climate change and accuse and blame Republicans and Trump for all of this, instead of actually doing something to fix it, that it's more politically viable for them. And you know what? Up until now, it has been. People die, people lose their homes, the land gets devastated, but they keep winning election. So, I mean, I guess they're right. And the fact is, now we've got Republicans in the place of saying, you know what, there's a role for government here. This is a good project for a government to handle. And yes, it's going to take money, but it needs to get done because only government can do it. And so we will. It's an amazing thing to see. And well, this is an opportunity for Republicans to actually show that they can get it done. And it will start with the federal government. It'll start with Donald Trump. All right, guys. Boy, we got a lot today. I love that I'm suddenly an expert on forest fires. I should have said, isn't it amazing how everyone thinks they're an expert on forest fires? But I have been living with this stuff. I moved to California when I was 13, and I've been dealing with it since then. And Angela, thank you for the $5 super chat. My love, that is so sweet. What an angel you are. No water in the fire hydrants. $500 million to Ukraine while California burns. North Carolina is still homeless. No wonder the party symbol is a jackass. 11 days to sanity. You know what? You just reminded me, and I probably should have included this in the show, but we had so much today. But I want to show you this. Stand by. Stand by. I'm going to go through my feed here and find it. Here, somebody tweeted this out. I think it was Kevin Dalton. Kevin Dalton used to be a guest on my show in Los Angeles. He knows LA politics, too. He's a smart guy. And where'd it go? Kevin Dalton. Hang on. Wait for it. Here it is. So this is Jessica Hahn. Jessica Hahn is a LA County supervisor, and she's actually not one of the really bad ones. They're all Democrats, but she's actually not the worst of the lot, but she's still pretty bad. She retweeted this from the Red Cross. If you are evacuated, bring these items with you if you safely can do so. So this is the Red Cross asking people to bring this stuff to evacuation centers and donate this stuff. Prescription medications, extra clothing, pillows, blankets, hygiene supplies, important documents, diapers. Jessica Hahn, LA County Supervisor, retweeted that. 2 years ago, Jessica Hahn put this post out on Twitter. As the Ukrainian people fight bravely against the Russian invasion of their homeland, LA County is stepping up to help too. Today, I joined LA County Fire Department as they packed surplus equipment, helmets, bulletproof body armor, medicine, medical equipment to send to Ukraine. So she's retweeting and begging people to bring supplies to a Red Cross crisis center because they are running low on supplies and aid for Angelenos. But 2 years ago, they put up surplus. What does that even mean? Surplus equipment from LA County. Taxpayers paid for that stuff. It's not surplus. You keep it on the shelf. It's not going to go bad. Body armor, helmets from LA. Look at the boots. Those are boots that a fireman could wear while fighting the fires right now. So she sent LA County Fire Department surplus equipment to Ukraine and bragged about it and patted herself on the back and celebrated on social media. And now, I don't know, last I checked, LA County Fire Department is kind of in need of a lot. Thank you for reminding me of that, Angela. Great point. Richard Murray. Wait, the Richard Murray? He looks different in that picture. Thank you for the $10 super chat there, Richard. This should be more like a red hot stuck in their throats than a red pill. Yeah, exactly. If this doesn't red pill California, nothing will. But I got to tell you, this is a weird thing about California. You know how they used to make that joke about how, well, yeah, Mussolini's a fascist, but he makes the trains run on time. And the joke is, they can have these terrible ideas and be terrible people, but as long as they run the government right, it's okay. In California, it's the opposite. I think east of the Mississippi, there's this mindset that you expect the government to just function and do things that you want them to do. In California and other states in the West, specifically to the West, they vote on ideas more than they vote on good governance. They don't want, this is, sorry. This is true of most voters out there. You see, most Californians actually lean more libertarian than anything else. In fact, I think that there are more independents registered in California than even Democrats. They want the government out of their way. They want to be able to smoke their weed. They want to be able to, drink their margaritas, walk on their beach. And it's when something disrupts that, that's when things happen. That's why the homeless issue, the fact that homeless people have taken over the beach, so you can't enjoy your own beach anymore, that's going to be a tipping point as well. So they would rather vote for politicians who let you keep sleeping around, getting a woman pregnant, and then aborting the baby, so you have no strings attached and no responsibility, than actually vote for a government that does the basics like put out fires. And that's what's got to change. I don't know if it will. I hate to say it. I really do. Tommy Radcliffe with a nice axe there. $5. Thank you. Born in Manhattan Beach. Me too. Oh, I was born in Manhattan Beach, but I lived in Manhattan Beach for years. Raised in Tahoe and Santa Barbara, I've lived through 3 big fires. They used to handle them well. This makes me cry from Florida. Yeah, I know, Tommy. I hope everyone realizes I'm passionate about this too because I care. I care deeply. You know who else lives in Manhattan Beach? Kurt Schlichter. You know who else lives in Manhattan Beach? Richard Grinnell. And I used to live in Manhattan Beach, right by the Kettle. Remember the Kettle restaurant? Highland and 11th Place is where I lived. I loved it there. I lived in Manhattan Beach when the Rodney King riots were going on. I had to drive into Century City. It took me 2 hours that day of the riots. All right, Tommy, enough with the walking down memory lane. Anybody else out there? Thanks for watching the live stream. Really appreciate it. Oh, and what do you think of the rebranding? Have you noticed the rebranding of the channel? Let us know what you think in the chat, and share these videos if you can. We really appreciate all our live stream viewers. We'll be back soon. My name's Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry.